on suspicion of neglect. You don't have to say anything, it may harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned, simply which may later lie in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
The victim in this case was subjected to decades of torment, exploitation and control. She was denied her freedom, made to live in appalling physical and emotional conditions, and forced to act on the whim of a woman who imprisoned her. Over the years of captivity, which she was only able to track by the passing of each Christmas, she was left to live off the crumbs that Wixon provided, while suffering unimaginable abuse and experiencing no acts of kindness at all.
So we've obviously had an incident reported to us tonight, and I got sufficient information from that incident to arrest you on suspicion of neglect. It's midnight on the 16th of March 2021. You're under arrest on suspicion of neglect. You don't have to say anything, it may harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned, something which may later lie in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Necessity for your arrest is to protect a vulnerable person and to conduct a thorough investigation, and it being prompt and effective. Okay, have you got any questions at this time?
What? No.
Okay.
At the moment.
Absolutely filthy bedding. No telephone numbers hidden under the pillow. How come she hasn't got a phone?
I don't know, she just hasn't had one. She's used the kids years ago and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
no.
I was going to say it's a bit odd because, especially in this day and age, everyone's on their phones. How old is this?
Well, do you know what I mean? With the learning disabilities and stuff like that, she finds it hard to read and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, what's she like in terms of cleanliness and keeping herself clean, that sort of stuff?
You have to like prompt her normally to bath, to wash, to wash her hair, things like that.
Oh, blimey. When was the last time you noticed that she did bathe herself?
Oh, I'm not sure. I can't really remember, but...
Has she got her own bank account, has she? Or?
No, it goes in to my bank account.
Yeah.
And then we get her things, we buy her food, and different things that she wants.
Yeah, okay.
All things like that.
I get her in lockdown stuff. Did she used to go out before lockdown was a thing, or?
Not a lot. No, she's quite what's the name for it? Reclusive.
Mm-hmm.
She likes to she write things down that she wants and one of us get it.
What were the dynamics over the years and, in fact, decades that followed the interaction between this victim and the other members of the family?
I think our victim was totally dehumanised. I don't think Amanda Wixon saw her as being a human being. She saw her as a slave to use for her own will to make her life better. She was treated very, very differently to Amanda's own children. She was expected to live in that squalor that you've seen in the imagery, but also was expected to clean up and make their lives better as such.
So take us back to, it was 2021, wasn't it? What was the phone call that the force received, and what did it say, and what followed from that?
I mean, that initial phone call gave us some sort of scarce information about a potential victim being held up in the house in Tewkesbury. And it came down to an initial response by a Tewkesbury officer, PC Foxhall, who has been confronted with the scenes that you'll have all seen on the videos and photos. And obviously his immediate actions on that day has helped save our victim from basically a life of servitude and sort of pain and anguish on a daily basis.
What did he see? What was he confronted with when he walked in through that room? Just describe the footage, the scene that unfolded.
It was a very messy house. I mean, there's parts of it that are worse, and I'd say the victim's room was worse than the rest of the house. I mean, that first initial scene, you look at the victim's room, I'd describe it as absolute squalor. It's a horrific state of affairs for someone to be living in. And did the force have any idea of quite the dynamics of what was going on here? You know, what did the report say, and what unfolded in front of the officer's eyes, and what did he realise? Yeah, but I mean, so we had no prior knowledge of this house, of this household, before that call came in. It's what police officers do. They attend and they see and they assess. But we were told the basics of what had happened and the fact that the victim had been held there sort of against their will, in essence, and there was like a degree of neglect, or a significant degree of neglect, and it's the officer's skills on the day to actually identify that and identify offences, and he took very swift action to A, save the victim, and B, arrest the suspect.
What kind of condition was she in, the victim?
She was in a very, very poor condition. She had abscesses in her teeth, calluses across her feet, was severely malnourished, and she was in a very, very bad state. She hadn't left that house for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And she had, she had dreams, didn't she? She wanted long hair. She wanted to go out. In what ways was Wixon? In what ways did she prevent this from happening?
So I think there's a combination here. Over the years, we believe that the victim was originally allowed out of the property, and neighbours have reported having seen her previously. And then by the end, Wixon had actually lied to neighbours and family to say that she'd moved to Scotland with a boyfriend and she was out of the location. And it was at that point that she was, in essence, kept captive inside the property, not even allowed out in the garden. I think on one occasion she went to put the rubbish out and was potentially spotted by a neighbour, and that led to a beating from Wixon. But it was a combination of intimidation, where there'd be a threat of violence or violence being carried out, and then it's just that constant control and manipulation of her to make it so she felt that she could never leave that property. So there was no physical bar on the property, but the psychological impact and then the physical beatings that came meant that she felt that she could not ever leave that property.
So we heard about assaults. What were these?
So there was multiple assaults that had been done. So she had her hair forcibly cut off her. She was hit with a broom handle that knocked teeth out from her, which caused abscesses, and medical practitioners said that she would have been in absolute severe pain as a result of those. But she had been punched and kicked, she was pushed down the stairs, and she had washing up liquid pushed into her mouth as well to sort of rinse out her mouth as such from that point of view. So she was living in daily fear of attack is what we believe is happening there.
And what do you think about the fact that this was able to go on for quite so long? You know, we're not talking about a few days, a few weeks, a few months, quarter of a century.
Yeah, this is almost 25 years. I mean, I say we're not 100% sure of the start date, but it's almost 25 years. It's absolutely horrific. I mean, the life that she's lived, she's missed the prime of her life, our victim, and she's suffered huge psychological harm as a result of the way she's been treated. Sorry.
So how about Amanda Wixon? What remorse, sorrow has she shown?
So I think from a remorse point of view, she still denies she's done anything wrong. So she obviously pled not guilty at trial, and even on the court steps after she was convicted, she still said, and basically it says that she's done no wrong. She's shown no remorse whatsoever towards the victim. I think I said she's dehumanised our victim. She doesn't believe that the victim is a real person. She doesn't feel that they have any rights, and she just treats them as an absolute slave for her.
What kind of person could do this to another human being?
I mean, it's a wicked person, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely wicked person that could do that. Our victim has lost, like you say, a quarter of a century of their life, the prime of their life. They've got vulnerabilities, they've got needs that they need to look after. They've been absolutely neglected this entire time and treated in such a poor way. Only a wicked person could treat another human being in that way.
Have you ever heard anything like this, and what did you think when you finally realised the scale of what Wixon had been doing?
Actually, I've been in the police now nearly 29 years, and this is probably one of the worst cases I've seen. The pure longevity of the harm that's been caused throughout this time. Nearly 25 years of suffering and pain. This is one of the most horrific crimes that I've seen has been investigated by Gloucestershire.
Okay, so I am DCI David Shornye, Gloucestershire Constabulary. It's David and then Shornye is SHORE-NYE. Okay. Good afternoon. Amanda Wixon held a vulnerable woman captive for 25 years and forced her to perform manual labour and regularly assaulted her. In addition to this, Wixon deprived the victim of food and healthcare and stripped her of her dignity by shaving her hair and refusing to let her bathe. This is a case that not only shocked us in the local community, but the nation too. Today, Wixon has been sentenced to 13 years in jail. Whilst it is a fitting sentence for her crimes, there is no poetic justice here. There is no prison sentence that could reflect the pain and suffering she has inflicted on the victim or bring back the decades she stole from her. Despite the wealth of evidence presented in court following our investigation, Wixon has continually denied her crimes and shown no remorse. Perhaps now, with many years in prison ahead of her, she will have the time to reflect on her actions which have led her to a prison cell. Our thoughts remain with the victim for the tremendous strength and courage she has shown in the face of unimaginable adversity, and we wish her well as she continues to heal with the help of her loving Shared Lives carer. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the investigation team who've worked tirelessly on this case to bring it to court and seek justice for the victim and for the continued care and compassion they have shown her. This case serves as a reminder to us all of the vulnerability that can exist behind closed doors. It challenges us to remain vigilant, to question things that don't look or feel right, and to speak up for those who may not be able to speak up for themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel.
The victim in this case was subjected to decades of torment, exploitation and control. She was denied her freedom, made to live in appalling physical and emotional conditions, and forced to act on the whim of a woman who imprisoned her. Over the years of captivity, which she was only able to track by the passing of each Christmas, she was left to live off the crumbs that Wixon provided, while suffering unimaginable abuse and experiencing no acts of kindness at all. Despite all of this, the progress she has made since finding freedom is remarkable and a true statement of her strength. Our thoughts remain with her, and I hope that today's sentence brings her some comfort as she continues to rebuild her life. Thank you.